Good morning, students. Welcome back to Programming for Problem Solving course. In the last session, we have started the pointers concept. That is the fifth unit concept. We discussed some of the basics related to these pointers. So we said we need to discuss two things in your fifth unit, that is pointers and the file handling. Inside these pointers, we need to know the idea of pointers, defining pointers, use of pointers in self-referential structures, and notations to the linked list. And we just discussed the notations. We won't see any implementation of linked list. And this linked list, these are the initiating points for your data structures, which we are going to see in your upcoming semester. So what concepts we have seen quickly, we will revise, under these pointers basic, and we will move further and we see what other concepts we have. Okay, so under this fifth unit, we started the pointers. We said these are the addresses of memory locations, or we can say pointers are the special type of variables which holds the address at the time of execution of a program of a memory location. So pointers generally holds the addresses of memory locations at the time of execution of the program. Okay, so they are having different uses. We discussed the uses and the uh, pointer constant, pointer variable, how these two things are different. The idea of pointer constant, as we said, all the memory locations, they have addresses. So if you put all those addresses together as a pool, so every address from that pool, we call it as a pointer constant, like how we have the character pool, and from that character pool, every character will be considered like a character constant. The same way, every address from the address pool will be considered like an address, the pointer constant. Okay, so the how to get the address of a variable, how we can extract the address of a variable, in the sense we need to use the ampersand operator, the special type of operator, and we also call it as an address operator. Okay, ampersand operator or address operator, to retrieve or to extract the address of a variable. Simply what we have to do, put the address operator before the variable name to get the address of a variable. So like this, you will get the address of a variable. This is the syntax. Okay, then we have seen the demonstration on printing addresses on the output screen. So we said to print the addresses on the output screen, we're going to use a special type of conversion code, that is percentile p. Okay, percentile p is to print the address on the output screen. So like how we are using percentile d for integer, percentile c for character, percentile f for float and double. In that same way, we have the percentile p to print the address on the output screen. Okay, so pointer variable, we said to declare a pointer variable, uh, we use the asterisk operator. Okay, you just suffix the um, type name after with this asterisk symbol to get the pointer variable. Okay, declaration, we have seen, just to use the asterisk operator before the after the type name to get the pointer variable declared. And how we can access the value from the address, in the sense, simply prefix ampersand before the pointer variable name to get the value. Okay, so these things we have seen in detail with the program examples. So declaration, the same operator, asterisk operator we are using, and for indirection also we are using the same asterisk operator. So we have discussed declaration versus indirection. So where asterisk operator is using for two different purposes. One is to declare a variable, pointer variable, and other is to access the value from the pointer. Okay, two different purposes. So declaring a pointer variable, we call it as declaration, and accessing value from a pointer variable, I mean accessing value from the address of the pointer variable, we call it as redirection. Okay. So initialization of pointer variables, we can put the address. Okay, we can put the address into a pointer variable, and if it is not properly initialized, your pointer variable, then what will happen? It like other variables, it will also hold some garbage address. And if you don't handle the pointers properly in your program, then what will happen? The program will lead to the inaccurate output, or we can say the program will lead to the garbage values. Okay. So pointer to pointer concept also we have completed in our previous session. When you are creating a pointer variable to some variable, and this pointer variable, as it is also having the properties of a variable, you can create a pointer to a pointer variable. Okay. Firstly, we are having a pointer to a normal variable. Then at the second level pointer, which is going to point the first level pointer. Likewise, you can also create a third level pointer, which is going to point the second level pointer. In that same way, if you keep on continue, the nth level pointer will point to the n minus 1th level pointer, provided whatever levels of pointers you are creating, all those level types must be same. Okay, that is the condition. That means if you have a variable of type integer, to store the address of that integer variable, you need an integer pointer. You can't store the address of an integer variable into a character pointer. It is not allowed. Okay. So in today's session, we will be discussing about pointer to void. That same condition what just now I said. Before coming to this topic, just now I said that only a character pointer can point the character variable, and only an integer pointer can point the integer variable. Okay. So this is the condition so far. But now when you come to this void pointer or pointer to void, okay, so this means what type of address you are going to store into this void pointer. Do we have a variable of void type? It is not possible, isn't it? We can't create a variable of type void, because void means no values, no operations. So when you are not storing any value, then how, I mean, what is the purpose of creating a variable of void type? Isn't it? It is meaningless. Creating a variable of void type, it is meaningless, because we don't have values of void type. Void type means no values, no operations. This we discussed when we discussed the data types in your first unit. Isn't it? We said void means no values, no operations. So if you don't have any values to store, then what is the purpose of creating a variable of void type? Clear? Hope you understood this one. So then what exactly a void pointer will hold? Of what type of address a void pointer will hold? This is the big question over here. Okay, can we store an integer address into a void pointer, or can we store only the integer variables address into a pointer, into a void pointer, or can we store character, double, float also? So we need to discuss this thing over here. What exactly a void pointer will hold at the time of execution of the program, and what is the purpose of creating a void pointer when we don't have a void variable? Okay, so we call a void pointer pointer to void, or a generic pointer, generic type of pointer. So there are two names to this one. One is we can call it as a pointer to void, or a generic pointer. Okay, a pointer to void is nothing but it is a generic type of pointer that is not associated with a reference type. Reference types are nothing but our primitive types, like we have integer, character, float, double. Okay, all these are our primitive types. So this pointer to void, or generic pointer, it is a special type of pointer which is not associated with any of the primitive types. So when I'm saying any of the primitive types, that means it is associated with all the primitive types. So it can hold the address of an integer variable, it can hold the address of a floating point, it can hold the address of a character, irrespective to the reference type, that I mean to say. Okay, it is not associated with any one, but rather it is associated with all. So you can store integer address, you can store character address, you can store floating point address. Likewise, you can store any type of address into that generic pointer. It is compatible for assignment purpose only with all other types. Okay, it is generally we can't directly use the pointer in our program as an reference. Rather we do some kind of manipulation, some intermediate type of manipulation, we can say, not the basic level or not the higher level. Rather we do the intermediate level, because with the help of general variables we are doing the basic level, and with the help of actual pointers we are doing the higher level. But when it comes to the generic pointer, it acts like an intermediate level. Okay, it stands at the intermediate level. So directly dereferencing is not possible. We need to go for other procedures in order to dereference the pointer's address. So dereferencing is nothing but getting the value from the address. Remember this one. Getting the value from the address is nothing but dereferencing, and whenever you are performing the dereferencing to the normal pointer, it is directly possible. Directly you can dereference a regular pointer, but when it comes to the generic pointer, you cannot do that directly. We have to go for other procedures. What are those other procedures? Very soon we will discuss. Okay, it is compatible for assignment purpose only with all other types. A pointer of any reference type can be assigned to a void pointer. Okay, a pointer of any reference type. A pointer of any reference type. Pointer is nothing but the address. The address of any reference type can be assigned to a pointer of void type. Pointer of void type is nothing but your generic pointer. Remember this one. And a pointer to void, that is nothing but your generic pointer type, can be assigned to any reference type. So intermediate. That's what I said. It can hold the address and it can be assigned to other pointers. It can hold the address and it can be assigned to other other pointers. So directly dereferencing is not possible. We will see that in the next statement. This we discussed, this also, in the last statement. As a void pointer has no specific object type, because it is not having a specific pointer type. Okay, it is a void type, it is a generic pointer, so it cannot be dereferenced unless it is properly casted. Okay, unless it is properly casted. So casting needs to be done properly. Typecasting needs to be done properly in order to access the value from the generic pointer. Remember this one. This is very, very, very important. And this void pointer, last time they have given this question for 4 marks. Okay, remember this one. Okay, it cannot be dereferenced unless it is casted properly. Okay, so as I said, it is not going to store any one particular type of data. Rather it is going to rather it is capable of holding multiple different types of data. So what exact type of data a generic pointer is holding at the time of execution, it is unknown to the application, or it is unknown to the program. That's the reason you have to make your compiler aware that this particular pointer, this particular generic pointer, is holding this particular type of data. Okay, because by seeing the void pointer, your compiler can't say what data, what type of address it is holding, whether it is holding character address or whether it is holding integer address. Your compiler is completely unknown, because whatever you are doing, manipulations you are doing inside the memory, you are making those changes by keeping the compiler aside. Okay, it is your own decision, it is not the compiler's decision. Okay, it's your decision that you are going to use the generic pointer. So you have to tell the compiler that I'm using the generic pointer and it is holding this type of data. So that information how we provide to the compiler, in the sense with the help of casting. So the procedure what I said to be used in order to handle the generic pointers properly is nothing but the typecasting procedure. Okay, remember this one. So quickly we will do one simple example on this generic pointer type, so that you will get an idea of how we use these generic pointers in our C programming. Okay, so I will not take much time, rather I will explain it in a shortcut way. So because it is not an LAQ type of question, it is SAQ type of question, and whatever we are discussing over here with respect to this generic pointers, it is more than enough. Okay, you can, even if they ask, because of this pandemic, if they put this question under the LAQs also, you can put this explanation along with this program, means you will easily get good marks. Okay, yeah, we will go and we will see what program we have under this generic type of pointers. So yeah, okay. So I will go to my IDE devcpp, just open the source file and start writing your program. So I'm writing a simple program. I'm including my header file. So then int main of void, and now I will include the code. Let us say I'm taking a variable int a is equals to 20. So this is an integer variable. Then I'm creating a character variable c is equals to, let us say we are storing e into it. Okay, then I'm creating a void. So I mean, you can go with other type of variables as well, like you can put double, you can put float addresses also into a void pointer, but I will show you by keeping only the integer as well as the character address into the void pointer. Okay, so as I said, maintaining the concept as basic as possible, it is an easy way of learning something, isn't it? So quickly declare a void pointer. How come? Void star, let us say void pointer, I am declaring vptr. So now this vptr is a void pointer, or your generic pointer, we can say. Generic in the sense adaptable. Adaptable, the term generic means adaptable. We have generic medicines, we have generic what we call fertilizers, many things we are having. Why the term generic is attached with those things means they are adaptable, they're not going to have any side effects. Because of that reason, we are saying them as generic medicines, generic or what we say generic fertilizers. Because generic, when we are saying generic medicines, when we are saying, they are going to cover a lot of diseases rather than specific to a particular type of disease. If it is a generic medicine, you can use a multi-purpose medicine, we can say. You can use that same medicine for a lot of diseases. In that same way, when you are declaring a generic pointer, instead of storing a specific type of address into that generic pointer, you can store any type of address. Okay, because as it is generic in nature. Okay, so now store the first, I will store the address of an integer variable. So vptr uh, equals to ampersand a, I am saying. So now vptr is holding the address of a. So if I want to print the uh, if I want to print the value of a by using this vptr, how I have to do generally? If it is not a generic pointer, let us assume if it is not a void pointer and if it is an integer pointer, then how we do? Printf. First I will print using a. Okay, a value. I'm writing one simple statement, a value, using variable we are printing. Variable. So that is percentile d comma a. Like this we are printing the a value. So take a normal pointer also, integer pointer also. Here int star aptr. Now aptr is an integer pointer, and in that integer pointer also I am storing the address of a. So now this is a value using variable. Using variable a, because we are printing the value of a using variable a name only, identifier. So the second statement, printf, I am printing the value of a value, a value in bracket using integer pointer, because it is specific, isn't it? Integer pointer, int pointer, it is a specific pointer, so you can directly dereference that one. Dereferencing means getting the value from the address. Address is inside aptr, so if you dereference star aptr, what it will give? It will give the value of a. Okay, up to this we will execute and we will see. Okay, program we need to save. I'm saying generic pointer dot c. Program got saved. Now go compile. As you can see, compilation is successful. Now you run. See here, value of a using variable, we are getting 20. Value of a using pointer, because we are dereferencing directly, we are getting value 20. But when it comes to the generic pointer, so printf, generic pointer is nothing but your v pointer. Okay, vptr, void pointer. So inside that, if a value I will print using generic pointer. So then what I will get? Okay, here also percentile d, I want to print the value. So can I dereference that VPTR directly? Is it possible? We will see first like this. Okay, what type of issue it will generate, we will see. So what I'm doing over here, I'm printing the a value using generic pointer, and I'm directly dereferencing VPTR. Directly dereferencing means directly applying the indirection operator to the void pointer. See here, we are getting a warning, dereferencing void pointer. Okay, dereferencing void pointer, which is not allowed in programming because it is a generic type, and what type of address it is holding, it is unknown to the compiler. Your compiler doesn't know what type of address it is holding, so it is unable to dereference that one. So because of that reason, what we have to do, before dereferencing, you need to make it specific. Before dereferencing, you need to make it specific. And how come we can make it specific? Means we will tell the compiler, that VPTR is holding integer address. How we will tell? Simply take the parenthesis, and in that parenthesis put int star. Int star is what? Integer address. Int star is nothing but integer address, isn't it? So we are telling the compiler that this VPTR, it is a generic pointer, and it is holding, now it is holding integer address. Okay, at this statement, when I am dereferencing, it is holding an integer address. So now your compiler is aware that VPTR is holding integer address. So it will, what it will do, it will dereference that one. Just see that. Go and compile. Compilation now, it is successful because the compiler knows it. Okay, now the compiler knows it that your VPTR void pointer, it is holding the integer address. So now go and run. See, we got the output 20. Okay, so this is how we can do the manipulation with respect to your integers. Can we do with characters now? Can we do with characters? So simply take a character pointer. Here only I need to define that char star character pointer CPTR. Okay, CPTR, put the semicolon at the end now. CPTR, put the semicolon at the end. Now printf C value. It is a character, isn't it? C value, first of all, we print using a variable. Okay, we printing the value using a variable. So percentile C is a conversion code. C is the conversion code because we are dealing with characters now. C. Okay. So now how to print using variable? C variable is holding the character data. So C. So now take a character pointer CPTR, and in that CPTR store the address of C. CPTR is equals to %C. So now using pointer we will dereference. See here, printf, okay, using pointer \n, just to get a new line in the output, C value, character value of, okay, using character pointer. How we are printing? Using character pointer we are printing. So can we directly dereference the character pointer? Yes, because it is specific, isn't it? It is specific pointer. Character pointer is specific to character. So we can directly dereference. So CPTR. Go to the end and put the semicolon. Next thing, printf. Can we dereference the can we store the address after this? Can we store the address? Yeah, here somewhere we need to. After dereferencing, you try to reinitialize VPTR, because we are not declaring another generic pointer, because the same generic pointer which was holding the integer address, now we are making it to hold the character address. Okay, %C in the sense C variable's address. C is what type? Character type. So now your VPTR, as it is generic pointer, it is capable of holding character address also. Previously it was holding integer address, but now it is holding character address. Just go here and see C value. Now we are printing with the help of what is that? Generic pointer. Generic pointer. Go to the end, put the semicolon and give %d. Okay, then put comma. Can we dereference that generic pointer directly? Because not possible, because now it is holding character. Previously it was holding integer, and now it is holding character. That is the problem with generic pointer, because it is not stable, it is completely vibrant. because the type is not specific, it is not stable. At some point it is holding integer data, and at some point it is holding character data. So there is a lot of confusion in the variables behavior, pointer variable, generic pointer variables behavior in the program. That's the reason when you are coding it, code it properly. Make the compiler aware at what point of instant your generic pointer is holding what type of data, I mean what type of address. It is not holding the data, it is holding the address. Okay, that's the reason we need to be specific whenever we are dealing with your generic pointer. Okay, just go and compile, see, we will get our error over here. You're dereferencing the VPTR directly. Okay, dereferencing VPTR directly is not allowed. Okay, void pointer over here, then invalid use of void expression, and undeclared, some variable undeclared, something it is showing. We will see when it comes, we will see. Yeah, go and here what we need to do, yeah, this one is undeclared. Okay, here what we need to do, we need to make it specific. Now as your generic pointer, it is holding character address, put character variable address, put char star. Okay, character star will make the stuff specific over here. Now the compiler will come to know that your generic pointer is holding character address by seeing this typecasted. This is typecasting, putting your specific type inside the curly, parenthesis. Okay, inside the parenthesis is typecasting. Okay, just go and run the program. See, now we got EE, and why we got this 101 over there, in the sense because we are printing the integer, we are not printing character. Just make it character to see the character value. Just go compile once again and run it to see the output. See here, E using variable E we got, using pointer E we got, and using generic pointer also E we got. Like this you can do, you can handle, or you can code when you are using the generic pointers in your programming. Okay, after this we have the arrays and pointers. Okay, with respect to your pointers, your arrays will exhibit a special feature. Okay, what is that special feature and how these pointers and arrays have the relationship in between, that we need to discuss over here. Okay, the most important point, or the most important thing when we are talking about pointers with respect to arrays, is that the first point itself, the name of an array is a pointer constant. So this thing to understand, you need to pay some effort over here, some understanding effort over here, because whatever array we are declaring, it is having an identifier, and under that identifier only we are having all the collection elements, isn't it? Your array means it is not a single element, rather it is a collection of elements. Okay, let me just take the whiteboard. When we are saying an array, it is a collection. So when we are saying a collection, it is a group of elements. Okay, it is a group of elements of a specific type, a particular specific type. That specific type, at the time of declaration, whatever you are declaring, it will be of that specific type only. Okay, so if your array name is a pointer constant, we said array name is the pointer constant. See here, the name of the array is a pointer constant to the first element, in the array. It is not going to hold the entire what we call array locations addresses. Rather, it is going to hold only one address, and that address is of the first location's address. Okay, as it is a pointer constant, its value can't be changed. We are saying it is a pointer constant, so its value you can't change. Okay, that is, it cannot be used as an L value, left hand value. Always remember, when with respect to your constant, whenever we are saying a constant, you can't use that constant as the L value, left hand side value, to the assignment operator. You always have to use that value as the R value. Constants we always use like R values. Of course, to the assignment operator we are saying, okay, not to the comparison operator, to the assignment operator we are saying, the name of an array and the first element address both will represent the same thing in the memory locations. Okay, in the memory, and when the array name is dereferenced, it is like dereferencing the first element of the array. Okay, that is, it gives the value of the first element array of 0. Remember, when array name is declared, it refers only to the first element, not the whole array. Okay, here they have given some idea. See here, This array, as it is holding 5 elements, here only I will explain that one instead of going to the whiteboard. So as it is holding 5 elements, how I need to declare this array? So integer, if it is of type integer, then integer a of 5, like this I will declare. Then it will get 5 locations like this. Okay, if I initialize this one with some values like 4, 7, 9, okay, 13, 24, like this I have stored some values. So this 4, where it will go? The index, according to, I mean, array name followed by the index, we will use all the values. So this is your 0th element, first element, second element, third element, fourth element. Okay, so a of 0 will become 4, so that 4 will come over here. A of 1 will become 7, a of 2 will become 9, a of 3 will become 13, and a of 4 will become 24. All these things from arrays we know in your second unit. Okay, from arrays we know this concept. So now this name, this is a, what we are saying over here, this a, it is the, it is what? It is the pointer constant. It is the pointer constant. It is a pointer and constant. Pointer constant in the sense it represents an address, and that address it can't be changed. That's the reason we are saying pointer constant. And it represents what? So yeah, I mean, when we store this array into the computer memory, it is going to occupy how many locations? Let us say 5 integer locations. It is going to occupy how many locations? 5 integer locations. So, and that 5 integer locations will be stored consecutively. Consecutively in the sense one after the other, like adjacent houses on the street. Okay, they will be stored like an adjacent houses on the street. So the first location's address, let us say 1001, then the second location's address will be 1002, 1003, 1004. This is just for assumption. Okay, 1005, like this we are going to have the addresses, because all these locations will be stored adjacent to one another. So if this a is a pointer constant, and what it is going to point means, it is going to point the first location's address. It is going to point the first location's address. That is nothing but, here a, it is a variable, array name is nothing but, array identifier is nothing but, it is same like ampersand a of 0. What is ampersand a of 0? First location's address. A of 0 is the first location's value, and ampersand a of 0 is nothing but first location's address, like this. So dereferencing that first location's address is same like accessing the first location. When you dereference the dereference the address array name, it is nothing but accessing the first element's value. So this I will show you practically how it will be. So just open the your Dev CPP, and these things you remove. Yeah, quickly I will declare an array with 5 elements. So this demonstration anyhow we have in the next slide. We need to demonstrate the pointer to array. So that demonstration here I am doing. So what I have to do, integer a of 4. Okay, only 4 elements, or better you take 5 elements as we discussed in the example. Then equals to 4 comma 7 comma 9 comma 13 comma 24. Like this I have 5 elements into this address. So this is my a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, and this is the last one is a of 4 likewise. So now after this what we need to do, yeah, as I said, the array name is going to point the first location. Okay, so what we do is we put the array name with percentile p, and we put the first location's address with percentile p, and we do the comparison whether both are same or not. So first what I am doing, printf, print the address. Okay, print the addresses, 2 addresses, percentile p space percentile p. We are printing 2 addresses. Now to print the array name. Array name, as we said, it is a pointer constant, just put a. And then first location is a of 0, and getting the address of first location is simply prefix and percent before the first location's first location. So now you will get the address of first location, then put the semicolon at the end. Now just go save and program, save this program and compile. Sorry, tools, not this one. execute, compile. Okay, program got successfully compiled. Now you print it on the output screen. As you can see here, 62F. Just check, because all the first digits, they are zeros only. Check the last 6 digits. Okay, 62F E00, and here also 62F E00, because they are pointing the same location. Same address means they are pointing the same location. So both the array name and the address of the first memory location will be same, because array name itself is a pointer constant to the first location. Okay, now try to access the values using them. Okay, printf first location's value, try to access. So percentile d. So first location's value, how I can dereference, because a is the pointer constant, so dereference. And a of 0, no need to dereference, because it directly represents the first element. Put the semicolon at the end, save the program, compile, compilation successful. Now run. As you can see, we got the same thing. Okay, and percentile d, here you put \n, so that we will get the addresses in the, sorry, values in the second line. So, and make it specific. Here we are printing the addresses. Okay, and here we are printing the values. Okay, values. Okay, so what value we are expecting over here? As we are dereferencing the first location's address, we will get 4 here, and this is a of 0 is nothing but 4 only. Just compile and run to get the, see here, values 4 and addresses, these things we will get. Okay, hopefully you understood this one. So the next concept, and it is also one of the important concept in pointers, and after this we have memory allocation functions, that also we need to discuss. So quickly, yeah, self-referential structures we have. After that we have memory allocation functions. So first we go with memory allocation functions, then we will discuss self-referential structures. Okay, so pointer arithmetic, our next concept is pointer arithmetic. That is nothing but, just now in this slide, as I said, when array name is pointing to the first location, that is nothing but when array name is storing the address of first location. So if you add 1 to array name, what you will get? If you want, it is a pointer constant. Already we printed and we have seen, isn't it? We printed and we have seen the a on the output screen. So we said a is nothing but the address of the first memory location, address of the first memory location inside an array. So here inside an array, this is this one, and address, if we assume this as the address 1001, so then a will become 1001. We should not say equal, but a is pointing to 1001. This is the address. A is pointing to 1001. So if I add 1 to a, if I add 1 to a, then what will happen? 1001 plus 1, it is going to be 1002. Then what is 1002? It is the address of second element, as you can see. So if this is a, if this particular location, if you are saying a, then this location will become a plus 1, and this will become a plus 2, this a plus 3, and this a plus 4. Likewise, you can access all the elements from this array simply by using the pointer arithmetic. Pointer arithmetic is nothing but, this is the alternative approach for accessing the array elements. Remember this one. So what is the regular approach for accessing the array elements? The indexing. Indexing is the regular approach. So beside indexing, programmers use another powerful method of moving through an array, because in order to access the elements from an array, we need to move back and forth inside the array. Then only we can point to the second element, then third element, then fourth element, likewise, and then only we can access the values from that array. Moving back and forth is very important whenever we are accessing the array elements. So the first approach is the indexing, and the second approach is the pointer arithmetic. So using pointer arithmetic also, we can move back and forth inside the array, and we can access the elements from the array. Okay, pointer arithmetic offers a set of arithmetic operations, operators for manipulating the address in the pointer. So not only addition, we can also use the subtraction. Okay, a set of arithmetic operators. Okay, addition, subtraction we can use. There are other operators that also we can use, but in our scope, in our syllabus, it is better if we discuss only these two, addition and subtraction. So these two are used in order to perform the pointer arithmetic. Okay, pointer arithmetic you can perform, and you can access the array elements using pointer arithmetic. Okay, this is the alternative approach. As I said, it is an alternative approach to access the elements from the array. Okay, this technique is used to move back and forth through an array from element to element, from first element to second element to third element to fourth element. Likewise, in order to move inside an array, simply what we have to do, take the array name, and indexing you can apply, or else you can even go for simply pointer arithmetic. But when you are using the pointer arithmetic, condition is you must have to dereference, because pointer arithmetic will only give you the value, will only give you the address, but whereas indexing, it will give directly the value. Pointer arithmetic will give only the address, but indexing directly give the value. So whenever we are going for pointer arithmetic, there is also a need to perform the indirection whenever it is applicable. Okay, after applying the indirection only, you will get the proper value in pointer arithmetic. So this is pointer to one dimensional array. We will discuss only one dimensional array. As we said, the array name itself is the pointer constant to the first element. Adding 1 to that pointer constant, adding 1 to that array name will take you to the second element. Okay, adding 2 to the first element will take you to the third element. Adding 3 to the first element will take you to the fourth element. Likewise, you can move as much you want. Okay, or else, if your pointer constant is not pointing the first element, rather it is pointing somewhere in the middle, then what will happen? Then adding 1 to it will take you to the next element, and adding subtracting 1 from it will take you to the previous element. So let us say you are taking a pointer constant. Okay, in this array only I am taking, in this array, take this same example. Okay, I will take the eraser to rub all these things. As we have taken here, as we have taken the pointer to the first element, because we are using the array name itself. Array name itself is the pointer constant to the first element, first location. We said if I take some different element, different locations address, instead of taking the first locations address, if I take some different locations address, then how the things will go. So let us assume we are not okay, this is anyhow, this is by default, we are not doing anything. This is by default we are getting. Whenever you are declaring an array with name A, you are going to have a array name pointing to the first element like this. It is the developer's strategy. This is nothing is in our hand in order to alter this particular condition. Whenever you create an array of a specific type, automatically that array name, automatically the identifier of that array is going to point the first element, will become the pointer constant to the first element. We are not doing anything over there. It is by the developers, and it is the programming language standard. Okay, we can't alter it, we can't modify it. But okay, but if I take a pointer constant to some other location, let us say I want to give a pointer constant to the third location inside an array, and I want to name it like, okay, PTR, like this. PTR I want to name it. Okay, now how I can access, using this PTR, how I can access this location's value. So as it is holding the address, so let us assume this is 1001, 1002, once again I am writing the same thing, 1003 and 1004, and finally this last one is 1005. Then PTR, if you take in your programming, what it will give? It will give address. Okay, it will give address. So then what I have to do in order to get the value? Dereference. Star PTR will give you the value. Better you note down all these things. PTR is giving the address, but star PTR is giving the value. Remember this one. The same thing as we have initialized here, what we made? We made PTR is equals to and percent a of 2. Second, that is third location's address, we are storing into this PTR, where PTR is an integer pointer. Int star PTR, like this we have declared. Int star PTR, and PTR is equals to and percent a of 2 we said. So now my PTR is going to point this third location. So in order to move forward in this direction, in order to go to the fourth element, what I have to do? simply make ptr plus 1 will give you the fourth element. Fourth element, not element, fourth element's address it will give. Fourth element's address it will give. So how to get the value from this one? Fourth element's value, how to get? Simply dereference. ptr plus 1, apply dereference. Indirection. Okay, so now what you will get? Fourth element value you will get. Fourth element's value you will get. Like this. In that same way, let us assume you have the ptr in hand and you want to access the previous element. You don't want to move forward. You want to move in the backward direction. You want to go to this second element, and you want to access the value. So how to move to the second element? ptr is holding the third location's address. So how to move to the previous locations? Simply see here what difference we have. Here the third location's address is 1003 and second location's address is 1002. What I have to do? I need to subtract 1 from this address so that I can go to the second element. So that is how ptr minus 1 will take you to the previous location. Okay, this is second element's address. Second element's address. This is okay. Now how to get the value from this second element's address? Simply apply the indirection. Star of ptr minus 1 will give you the second element's value. So this is your pointer arithmetic. See here, the same thing I have whatever I have explained in that slide. Your array name is pointing to the first location. Okay, and adding 1 to it will take you to the second element. Adding 1 to second element will take you third element, fourth element, fifth element. Likewise you can move. Simply this is to access the addresses. How we can get the value? Simply apply asterisk. Okay, asterisk of like this will give you the, will indirect the value, will dereference the value like this. Okay, apply star. Here also same thing. If my p, it is not the identifier of the array, it is something else. P is something else. So inside P, what I am doing, I am storing the address of second location. Okay, I am storing the location of address of second locations. Then this will become P, and in order to move in the forward directions, perform the addition operation. Adding 1 will take you to the next location. Adding plus 2 will take you to the 2 locations in the forward direction. Okay, move 2 locations in the forward direction. Adding 3 to it will move 3 locations in the forward direction. Likewise, if you subtract 1, will take you to the minus. Okay, will take you to the previous location. Likewise, see, somebody will ask, will ask me, if I say like this, what happens if I add more? It will go beyond the array limit. You will get garbage value. So we defined array only 5 elements, and if you add 6 to it or 7 to it, what it will happen? The pointer will go out of this array. Okay, beyond the array locations. And you will get garbage values, unknown values, because those memory locations will hold unknown values for us. Okay, so this is about pointer arithmetic, and this is how, in order to dereference, what we have to do, simply apply the asterisk operator before the array name to get the first location's value. To get the second location value, add 1 to the array name and apply the dereference. To get the third location's address, third location's value, add 2 to the first location's address and apply dereference. Likewise, you can access all element values inside your program. Hopefully you understood. Okay, so now we do a practical program, a simple program, in order to demonstrate this particular thing, how we do this pointer arithmetic in our programming. Okay, one simple approach I am taking. I am declaring one simple array, and with the help of that array, take this same array. Okay, instead of going here and there, take this same array. So now what I have to do, declare one pointer as well, int star p. Okay, I'm avoiding the confusion as much as possible. Instead of taking ptr now, because I took p in the examples, that same p here I am taking. So initially what I am doing, I'm initializing my p to the second element, let us say, sorry, third element, let us say. So what I have to do here, I need to store the address of a of 0, a of 1, a of 2 into this p. What I have to do, I need to store the address of a of 2. So that is ampersand a of 2. Ampersand a of 2 will give you the address of this third location. Okay, now a, the reference, a name of the array is going to point the first location. Okay, name of the array is going to point the first location. Then this p pointer, when it is initialized with the address of third element, it is going to point this third location inside the memory. So now print the values. So there are many things we are doing over here. Print the values. Okay, printing array elements using indexing. So how we can print using indexing? Printing array elements using indexing. Okay, indexing, how many values we have inside that array? 5 values. First percentile d, second percentile d, third percentile d, fourth and fifth. Now how we can print those values using indexing? Put the identifier followed by the index in the curly in the square brackets. So this is first element, second element, sorry, second element, then third element, fourth element, the last element, fifth element. Okay, put the semicolon at the end and come down. In the next line, what we do is we print the values using pointer arithmetic. Okay, pointer arithmetic with a array name pointer, with a printf backslash n, printing array values, printing array elements using pointer arithmetic, and that too how we are doing? Array name, array name only we are doing, array name only we are doing. So how we can dereference that one? How many values we have? 5 percentile d, percentile d, percentile d, percentile d, percentile d. 5 percentile d's we kept. Now how to dereference? The first value, how to dereference? Simply put star of add 0, because we have to remain at the same location. Then same thing, add 1, same thing, add 2, add 3, add 4. Likewise you can go up to last location. This is first location, this is adding 1, second location. Okay, adding 2, third location, adding 3, fourth location, adding 4, fifth location, adding 4, fifth location. Likewise you can access all the elements from the array using indexing. Then one more listing of elements, printing array elements. Okay, printing array elements using pointer arithmetic only, pointer arithmetic only, but this time we are using different pointer. We are not using the array name, different pointer we are using. Okay, and using that also we are printing the same thing, all values from the array. And as we know, our p pointer is pointing where? It is pointing the third location. Okay, to access the first location using p pointer, what I have to do? I need to subtract 2 from it. Okay, then only it will go to the first location, because it is pointing at the third location. If you subtract 1, it will go to the second location, and if you subtract another one, it will go to the first location. So like this, see, here we have our pointer. Okay, of course I said a of 2, isn't it? P is equals to and percent a of 2, I said. P is equals to and percent a of 2, I said. See, check your program here. P is equals to and percent a of 2, I said. That means my pointer P, it is pointing the second location. So here I have my P now. Here I have my P. Okay, here I have my P. So what I have to do in order to get this location, I need to subtract 1 from it. So P minus 1. What I have to do in order to get the first location, P minus 2 I have to take. Then first take the P minus 2, then dereference. Okay, take the P minus 2 and then dereference. So here P minus 2 and apply dereferencing to it to access the element. Access the element value, I can say. So now Control C. So to access the, this is the first element we are accessing. So how we can access the second element, sorry, no, this is the third element we are accessing. How we access the second element? Minus 1 will give you the second element. Okay, sorry, p minus 2 will give you the first element, p minus 1 will give you the second element, and one more, p minus 0. P minus 0 will give you what? P minus 0 will give you same thing, that is where p is pointing, that element's address. Then p minus sorry, p plus 1 will take you to the fourth location. P plus 1 will take you to the fourth location, and finally p plus 2 will take you to the last location. Okay, that is fifth location in the program. So save it. So just check how this output will be generated on the output screen. Compilation successful. Now you run to see the output. See here, printing array elements using indexing. So that is a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4, a of 5. A of 5 is not there, up to a of 4 only. Then printing elements, array elements using pointer arithmetic array name. So 4, 7. In all cases, we got the same elements. Printing array elements using pointer arithmetic but with a different pointer p. And moreover, this p is not pointing to the first location, rather it is pointing the third location. So in order to access the before elements from that third element, we are doing pointer subtraction, and in order to access the after elements after the pointer, we are doing the pointer addition. Likewise, you remember this pointer arithmetic operations. It is one of the important concept in C programming language. Okay, then we have pointer to one dimension. These all things we have discussed. This demonstration also I have done. So now we have the self-referential structures. So shall we go with this self-referential structures, or shall we go with memory allocation means? Yeah, let's just go with this self-referential structures only. So the idea of self-referential structures, we have already seen pointer to structure. So pointer to structure is something inside a structure. We are storing different fields. Okay, we are keeping different fields. If you create a variable of that structure, the variable using dot operator, you can access the internal fields. If you create a pointer to that structure using arrow operator, because indirect selection we said, okay, using arrow operator you can access the internal elements of a pointer to structure. Okay, internal elements of the structure. This we have discussed in structures up to pointers to structure concept. But over here, what is this self-referential structure? And I'm telling you, this is very, very important. Okay, many times this question got repeated in your previous year university question papers. If you don't believe me, just go, and otherwise I will share those question papers by not only the current recent semester recent semester university, but also I will try to share previous year, I mean from a long back, like from CBCS and from non-CBCS we have the question papers. I will try to push all those question papers in your WhatsApp group. You need to segregate, and you need to choose what papers you feel suitable, and what papers you will prefer, because otherwise if you sit with all those question papers also, it will take a lot of time and it will give a lot of confusion to you. So instead of going in that way, I suggest you to I suggest you to pre-plan your preparation. Don't just go and sit and open something to read, but doing the preparation in advance, it will help you a lot. Okay, so something, if you start reading now itself, what will happen as the exams will approach, you will get a kind of confidence that you can clear this subject. Okay, because PPS, many times I told you in my lectures that it is not an easy subject. Forget about getting the easy question paper in your university exams. They will play with you like anything. Okay, so just be ready for all those things, all that what we call nightmares, which you are going to see very soon. Okay, so just start preparation now itself to avoid those nightmares. Okay, so self-referential structures holds one or more pointers which points to the same structure type of structure as their member. So now what we do, inside inside a structure, we said we can keep any type of data, because structure, we said when we defined the structure, we said structure is a collection of heterogeneous data type elements. So inside a structure, when you are creating a structure, when you are giving a name to the structure, nobody, I mean the program or the developers, they are not asking you to specify what type of data you are going to store in that. Rather, what we are saying, we are keeping multiple types of data into the structure, so that whatever you feel suitable at the time of execution of the program, you can utilize that. Or if you feel that in order to create the data entry, or in order to do the in order to maintain the files in a cumbersome manner, it is not suitable, then you can go for record level storage with the help of these structures. Okay, in simple words, structures pointing to the same type of structure are self-referential structure. So if you are creating a variable of type structure, and in that structure variable, if you store the address of a structure variable, then and that structure variable, if you put inside a structure, then we call that structure as an self-referential structure. It is very simple, and when we do the declaration, at the time of declaration only you will understand what exactly we are doing. Instead of depending on somebody else to point me, I'm pointing to myself. I'm correcting my mistake. I'm showing my mistake. So that is self-referential structure. Remember that one. I'm becoming a reference to myself. I am becoming a reference to myself. Then definitely whenever I'm pointing my mistake, I need to mention my reference over there, that I am doing. I have done that, like that. Isn't it? So in that same way, when you are declaring a self-referential structure, you have to give the reference of that same structure as a part of that structure. Giving the reference of that same structure as a part of that structure is nothing but self-referential structure. Okay, a self-referential structure is essentially used essentially a structure definition which includes at least one member that is a pointer to the same structure. Already I told you, a self-referential structure is going to have a reference, a self-referential structure is going to have a pointer to that same structure. That's it, pointer to that same structure. It is something like a loop, we can say. Okay, at least one member, one pointer member we need to have inside a structure which is going to point to that same structure. Then we call that structure as a self-referential structure. So here you can see we are creating a node to structure. We are creating a structure with name node. Okay, with name node. What is the structure name? Node is the structure name. So inside that node structure, what I have done, the first data field I kept like an integer variable, int data. But if you see the second data field, that is link, what it is? Link is what? It is a pointer, because whatever type you are declaring, that is suffixed with asterisk. So this link is a pointer. And to where, what capability is having, where it is going to point, to what it is going to point. It is going to point a node. What is node? It is this structure itself. As you can see, it is this structure itself. So this link is having the capability to point this node itself. So this is self. It is referring to self. So self-referential structure. The above illustrated structure declaration describes one node that comprises of two logical segments. One of them stores the data, and the other one is a pointer indicating where the next components can be found. Okay, several such interconnected components can be made, and you can form a chain, and we call it as a linked list. Okay, very soon you will understand the linked list notation. The self-referential structure declaration of structure, it can be used to create a chain of nodes. So here, if you create a variable of this type, let us say node, we have declared in this way. So now what I am doing, I am creating a variable of this node. So how come? Struct node. Okay, struct node, let us say first node. First node. Okay, now this first node, when you create, it is going to have two parts, isn't it? It is going to have two parts, and it is as it is having, first part is the data. Here you can see first part is the data, and it is of type integer, and second part is link. And what is this link? This link is nothing but it is a pointer capable of pointing to the same node type of variable. to where it can point, to where this link can point, in the sense to a variable which is of this same node type. I will explain with more clarity over here. We have a struct, this is tagged structure. I'm given the name as node, and inside it we are keeping int data, and the second field I'm making struct node, okay, struct node link, okay, struct node star link. So then this link is becoming a pointer now. Close it like this. So now what we are doing, I'm creating this node type of variables. Just see, I'm creating this node type of variable, two variables I'm creating. Node is equal node of say f node first node, and s node second node, and t node third node. Three nodes I have created. Okay, so how they will be: first node of type node, so it is going to have two fields. This is my first node. It is going to have the data part, and also it is going to have the link part. Second node I am creating, second node, this is also going to have the data part, and this is also going to have the link part. So third node I am creating like this. Third node is also going to have the data part, and third node is also going to have the link part like this. So in this data part, as it is a member of this structure, so how I can, using this fnode dot data. So later we use a pointer over here. So fnode dot data, if I say 30, then what will happen? This 30 will come and stand over here. Okay, then I'm saying s node of data is equals to some 40. I'm giving some simple steps so that you can understand. So 40 will come because this is my second node, s node. This is my first node, this is my second node, and this is my third node. So now I'm storing 40 into the second node. So how I can store 50 over here? Now let us say if I want to store the 50 into this data. So what is the name of this node? It is third node, t node. So t node dot data. Why we are using dot? Because this f node, s node, t node, they are regular variables of this structure type. So from the regular variable we use the direct selection operator to access the internal members. So t node dot data is equals to 50. Then what will happen? Here you will get 50 like this. So let us say if I put, because f node dot date, f node dot link, what it can store? It can store the address of a structure variable, because here you can see link is node star, so it can store the address of node. So what are my nodes? F node, S node, T node are my nodes. So if I inside first node's link pointer, if I store the address of S node, let us say like this, then what will happen? So the address of, so let us say the first node's address is 1001, second node's address is 1002, third node's address is 1003. So what I am doing now over here, fnode dot link is equals to ampersand s node. So what is s node's address? 1002. That address I am storing over here, 1002. So our link will be formed from here to here like this. Then t node, sorry, not t node, sorry, not t node, s node dot link, if I say ampersand t node, so storing the third node's address into second node, third node's address into second node's link pointer. So over here 1003 we are storing, so this will be formed like this. So make the last node t node, as there is nothing to store, and I want only 3 elements in my chain, in my linked list. This is your linked list, so I want only 3 elements now in my linked list. So what I have to do with this last link, in the sense, I need to make it as null. Okay, make it as null, so as whenever you are starting the programming, whenever you start the processing of element, because here we have the chain of elements, this is something like a memory management technique. Instead of going for arrays, we can go for linked lists. Arrays are managed by the compiler itself because they will hold the consecutive memory locations, but whereas this linked list, they are not going to hold the consecutive memory locations. So whenever you are creating this nodes inside your memory, what address they will take, we don't know. That's why there is a need to store the address of every second node into the previous node. Okay, into the previous node. So here this previous node is holding the address of next node. Here this previous node is holding the address of next node, and the last node is holding null, so as to indicate the end of this linked list. Suppose if I start the traversal from the first node, if I read the value 30, then I will say next, so I will go here, then I will say next, so I will go here. If I say next over here, it will go to the null, it will point to the null, so here only I can stop the reading process. Otherwise, what will happen? As you are maintaining the elements in an order over here inside the linked list, there will not be any termination point if you don't put this null over here. Okay, more in detail we will see on our slides, because this type of clarity will give you some idea in understanding those slides. So here the linked list notations, already I have explained many things in this linked list, and we said the last node's link pointer must be made like null, so as to indicate the end of the linked list. So this is my structure node, and creating a linked list, I mean what operations we can perform on the linked list, in the sense all these operations we can perform. We can create the linked list, we can delete the linked list, and we can display the contents from the linked list. Okay, we can display the contents from a linked list, and we can insert or edit the elements into a linked list, and we can delete the linked list. So the simple notation, this we need to demonstrate. Okay, then we have to go for memory allocation functions. So this I want to demonstrate how we can implement this sort of linked list in programming. Okay, a very simple task I will implement, and I will perform the traversal. That is nothing but I will print the data elements from the linked list. Okay, so just go and start typing the program. Okay, so here first include the your header file, then create the structure struct node, all capitals. It is the tagged structure we are using here. Okay, then int data, and take the second portion as the pointer to that same node, self-referential structure, because it is capable of referring to the same structure. Okay, that's why the name self-referential structure. Hopefully, then create the nodes, your f node, s node, t node. So I will call here, okay, here node 1, node 2, node 3 we have taken na. So in that same way we will take node 1, node 2, node 3. In this same implementation we have to do. So struct create node node 1 comma node 2 comma node 3. Like this you create three nodes, three different nodes. Then make, first we will store the data. Okay, node 1 dot data. Okay, node 1 of data, we are storing the data is equals to, let us say, some 10. Then store the node 2 data, node 2 dot data is equals to some 20, and store the node 3 data, node 3 dot data is equals to 30. So far what we have achieved, this node 1 we have created, node 2 we have created, node 3 we have created, and we stored 10 in node 1, 20 in node 2, and 30 in node 3. This storage is also over. Now what we have to do means we need to frame these links. Okay, we need to frame these links. So node 1 dot link is equals to & of node 2. Then node 2 dot link is equals to & of node 3. Then node 3 dot link is equals to null. Like that we have to make. Okay, just go and make over here. First you assigned the node 1 dot link is equals to & of node 2. Okay, then come down, node 2 dot link is equals to & of node 3. Okay, then come down, node 3 dot link is equals to null. Like this you can. After this what we have to do, yes, just try to access all the elements by following the structure. Okay, so this is in detail we will discuss about this linked list in your data structures in your next semester, accessing data member of node 2. Okay, uh, accessing all using node 1 only we can access now, no need to go for node 2 node 3. Okay, because they are in chained, they are like chained. Okay, for how we have after this, how we have in the sense all the elements, first we stored 10. Okay, then we stored 20. Okay, then we stored 30, and then we stored null, and we are going to have a head pointer over here. Okay, generally when we do the actual implementation of linked list, we are going to have a head pointer over here, and from that head pointer only we can access all the elements inside the linked list. So I'm considering the first node, that is node 1, as the head pointer, and using that node 1 only, how I can access node 2 data, how I can access node 3 data, and how I can terminate the reading process, that we will see over here. Accessing data using head pointer, I am saying head pointer, that is nothing but node 1 I am saying. Okay, now go down, simply printf, uh, printing all the elements. So first I will print the node 1 data, then I will print node 2 data, and then I will print node 3 data, and all these nodes data I can access using node 1 only. So first I am printing node 1 data. Okay, how I can? Percentile d, it is very simple, node 1 dot data, like this you can. Okay, then to access node 2 data, printf node 2 data colon percentile d. As you know, node 1 link is holding the node 2's address, isn't it? Node 1 dot link is holding the node 2's address, so I will make use that one. So node 1 dot link of data. Okay, node 1 dot link of data will give you the second location's data, then print the third location's data using node 1. Okay, it is also very simple, node 3 data we are printing percentile d, and how we are printing, that is node 1 dot link. Okay, off link of data, dot link of link of data, like this it will print the third node. So how many I mean how many hops we are doing, how many elements away of data from the head node we are printing, that many link you have to put. There is a better approach we have for this implementation using loops and all, that we will see in our next semester. So for now, as the implementation is also not required over here to discuss, but as it will give some idea to you how the linked list can be implemented and how the head node is the reference in order to access all the elements from your linked list. Those concepts you can remember and you can put in your exam. Okay, so if they ask you something to write about linked list, you can even write this program if it is an LAQ, if it is under LAQ. I'm not expecting this question in LAQ, but if they ask you to write about this thing in LAQ, just go with this. Okay, so already it is saved, and go to compile. Compilation is successful, then go to run. As you can see, it is printing node 1 data as 10, node 2 data as 20, and node 3 data as 30. So the only thing which is missing here is we need to put backslash n's so as to get all the values in different lines. Save the program, compile the program, and execute the program to check the output. See here, 10, 20, 30, all nodes data we are printing, and that all nodes data how we are accessing, using node 1 only we are accessing. We are not dependent on node 2, node 3. You need to remember this one. This is very important, and node 1 is the head node as we are treating over here. Okay, and now I have created only 3 nodes, but you can create as many nodes as you want, and using only one reference we are accessing all those nodes. Remember this one. So this idea, this sort of idea is the foundation to the data structures what we are going to discuss in our upcoming semesters. Okay, thank you very much students, and hope these concepts are reaching you, and hope you have started the preparation, and we are expecting some good performance in your internal as well as external exams. Okay, once again, thank you very much students.